At the tone, the time will be 1:05. Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me all right. My name is Dee, and I'm streaming out of Humboldt County about Humboldt County to Humboldt County and anyone else who cares. And I love to learn about the Constitution and the truth. How are all your truther friends? Are you checking in on them? Check in on your people. This is a terrible time for families. I know a lot of families that are just disjointed, I guess would be a good way to put it. People need to be checking in on people. For some people, this internet world is their family, right? Hey, Wildlife, good to see you. The man with the voice. Golly, I love your voice. It's such a good voice. And Annalisa's too. I just talked to her. on the phone, you guys. I like talking to her too. So anyway, let's see. Can you hear me okay? You must be able to hear me okay, or you'd be like, we can't hear you. So I'm hyped up, and I'm thinking about doing another stream after this one and dropping the link and having us a little chit chat. I got some things I want to talk about. So how about that? Hey, Echo, good to see you, honey. Praying for you and Judy. Oh, man, everybody's going through it. I swear, everybody I know is going through something, And I don't usually swear. I'm sorry. I take that back. I retract that. Can I take that back, please? I don't swear. I mean, I do swear sometimes, but you put Sybil in the closet? Good. She's crazy, isn't she? I'm so proud of you girls for quitting. You and All for His Kingdom have quit smoking cigarettes and, right on. And I was praying for you girls this morning. Real good that you would just stay the course and feel better and better. And, it's never wrong to get your flesh under some self-control. Whew, our flesh is relentless, isn't it? It wants all the time. And we have to tell it no. And we have to make ourselves learn, which, let's see, I've rambled on for 2 minutes. Try to get right in this class. I wanted to set the stream up before I did this one, but I didn't get a chance to. So hopefully I will still feel like doing it after this course. If any of you guys are there and you want to join me on a stream. Oh, yeah, I wanted to tell you about Jen. Jen is doing good. I have to check in with her today. I did check in with her yesterday, and she was all good in the morning. She was heading home. She sounded good. I checked on her in the late evening. She was good. I thought to check on her earlier, and I didn't do it. So hopefully, Jen, if you're out there, honey, we love you, and we hope you're doing good. So anyway, yeah. Yep. Every little bit helps. Prayers is that invisible weapon we don't really see, but then we do see it later, don't we? Sometimes we do. Sometimes it's a no. Sometimes it's a go. Oh, I just made that up. Okay, so let me share my screen. My goodness, I feel hyper all of a sudden. I'm glad I'm so happy to be here with you guys because, it's just, I just haven't been myself, and I don't want to come on here anymore when I'm distressed in any way. So sometimes I do go on other people's shows, which isn't really fair to them. So I know when I get kind of built up, I need to just do my own stream because I have a lot of things I want to talk about and directed conversations I want to have. So hopefully, if you guys are interested, let me know that you would come on later. Wildlife and Echo, Annalisa, any of you want to chit chat, let me know. Okay. All right, here we go. We are on the second part of the first chapter. Let me share one more thing of this book, The Making of America. And if some of you guys didn't know, the last one I did, I've done this book before, but I did it the first time I was learning it, I just was like, you know what? I'm going to put the camera on while I read this book. And so those videos go back. They go way back on Rumble because it was so long ago. Here it was, and there was 100 videos in that because I was doing both of those books. So then I did just the 5,000 Year Leap, which is a great one, and it gets referenced a lot in our training calls for assembly. And so, you know, a lot of people will refer to this one part of it, but the whole book is great because it was based on all of the principles, the 28 principles that is how our government was shaped. These things, everything falls under a principle. So when you get a good grasp on the principles, it's a lot easier to connect the dots in your head on the Constitution and our laws and where we're at now and what's going on. And there is a lot going on, but I really just want to get started reading. Once I get started reading, I cannot say hi or pay attention to the chat. Good to see you, Carolina, and anyone who comes in later. We're going to get started. I think I've got, how many pages is this one? And I did the quiz already on the last one. I like to do the quiz for the chapter that I read before on the next stream, but I already did, because I didn't read the whole chapter and I did the quiz. I'm a little out of sorts and I'm a little bit rusty. And in case you didn't know, I am a mediocre streamer at best. I don't have the best sound. I don't have great equipment. I'm just here. It's me, you know, but I'm live. This ain't Memorex. So anything could happen. The big one could happen. I'm in California. That could be, you know, likely the feed will get cut off, though. You guys wouldn't get to see anything. But I just always tease about that. Okay, here we go. This is so exciting because we're getting right into the Declaration of Independence, which happens to be what our first amendments, our Bill of Rights. Oh, no, I got confused with our Bill of Rights. Is that right? That it's from our Declaration of Independence. Our amendments are from our Bill of Rights. So I got a little excitable there. And I'm wrong sometimes, and I will apologize and let you know that I'm learning. We're learning together. How long did I go on here? 7 minutes. Oh, shoot. And Devil Dog is here. Great. Okay, 7 minutes. Here we go. The Declaration of Independence. On June 7, 1776, Richard Henry Lee of Virginia introduced the fatal resolution in Congress calling for complete separation from Great Britain. Several states asked for a brief postponement of any final decision in order to get instructions from home. Meanwhile, a special committee was appointed to write a formal Declaration of Independence. The committee consisted of Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Roger Sherman, Robert Livingston, and Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson immediately proposed that John Adams prepare the initial draft. John Adams described what happened as follows. Jefferson proposed to me to make the draft. I said, I will not. You should do it. Hold on a second. I need a drink of water. Jefferson, why? Adams, reasons, enough. Jefferson, what can be your reasons? Adams, reason first. You are a Virginian, and a Virginian ought to appear at the head of this business. Reason second. I am obnoxious, suspected, and unpopular. You are very much otherwise. Reason third. You can write 10 times better than I can. Jefferson, well, if you are decided, I will do as well as I can. That's hilarious. Jefferson's preparations and background. It is doubtful that any of the founders could have brought to this assignment a more profound and comprehensive training in history and political philosophy than Jefferson. Even by modern standards, the depth and breadth of his education are astonishing. Here is a summary of his background, which we have already mentioned briefly. He had begun the study of Latin, Greek, and French at the age of 9. At the age of 16, he had entered the College of William and Mary at Williamsburg as an advanced student. At the age of 19, he had graduated and immediately commenced 5 years of intensive study with George Wythe, the first professor of law in America. During this period, he often studied 12 to 14 hours per day. When he was examined for the bar, he seemed to know more than the men who were giving him the examination. By the time Jefferson had reached early adulthood, he had gained proficiency in 5 languages. He had studied the Greek and Roman classics. He had studied European and English history. He had carefully studied both the Old and New Testaments. While studying the history of ancient Israel, Jefferson made a significant discovery. He saw that at one time the Israelites had practiced the earliest and most efficient form of representative government. As long as the Israelites followed their fixed pattern of constitutional principles, they flourished. When they drifted from it, disaster overtook them. Jefferson thereafter referred to this constitutional pattern as the ancient principles. Jefferson was also surprised to find that the Anglo-Saxons somehow got hold of some of these ancient principles and followed a pattern almost identical to that of the Israelites until around the 8th century AD. In the next chapter, we will discuss the pattern which both of these nations followed. It is interesting that when Jefferson was writing his drafts for the Virginia Constitution, he was already emphasizing the need to return to the ancient principles. Writing the Declaration of Independence. For 17 days, Jefferson composed and revised his rough draft of the Declaration of Independence. The major portion of the Declaration is taken up with a long series of charges against King George III. However, these were nearly all copied from Jefferson's draft of the Virginia Constitution and his summary view of the rights of the British America. To copy these changes into the Declaration would not have taken him more than a single day. What was he doing the other 16 days? It appears that he spent most of the remaining time trying to structure into the first 2 paragraphs at least 8 of the ancient principles, which he had come to admire. His view on each of these principles are rounded out in other writings, and from these various sources, we are able to identify the following fundamental principles in the first 2 paragraphs of the Declaration of Independence. Sound governments should be based on self-evident truths. These truths should be so obvious, so rational, and so morally sound that their authenticity is beyond reasonable dispute. 2, the equal station of mankind here on earth is a cosmic reality, an obvious and inherent aspect of the law of nature and of nature's God. 3, this presupposes as a self-evident truth that the Creator made human beings equal in their rights, equal before the bar of justice, and equal in his sight. Of course, individual attributes and personality circumstances in life vary widely. 4, these rights, which have been bestowed by the Creator on each individual, are unalienable. That is, they cannot be taken away or violated without the offender coming under judgment and wrath of the Creator. A person may have other rights, such as those which have been created as a vested right by statute, but vested rights are not unalienable. They can be altered or eliminated at any time. 5, among the most important of the unalienable rights are the right to life, the right to liberty, and the right to pursue whatever course of life a person may desire in search of happiness, so long as it does not invade the inherent rights of others. Inherent. 6, the most basic reason for community or a nation to set up a system of government is to assure its inhabitants that the rights of the people shall be protected and preserved. 7, and because this is so, it follows that no office or agency of government has any right to exist except with the consent of the people or their representatives. 8, it also follows that if a government, either by malfeasance or neglect, fails to protect those rights, or even worse, if the government itself begins to violate those rights, then it is the right and duty of the people to regain control of their affairs and set up a form of government which will serve the people better. The Declaration of Independence is adopted. On July 2nd, 1776, Congress assembled as an informal committee of the whole to freely discuss Jefferson's Manifesto of Freedom. A number of changes were suggested and debated. It was the evening of July 4th when the Congress as an official body finally approved Jefferson's somewhat modified document. There were over 60 changes, but not one of the ancient principles was deleted. Neither Jefferson nor the Congress called this document the Declaration of Independence. It was the people who later gave the Declaration its immortal name. After approval, this document was sent to a Mr. Dunlap for printing, and a copy was ordered engrossed in large formal handwriting for signing. The printer's copy has been lost, but the engrossed copy is preserved for public display in the Archives Building in Washington, D.C. Although Jefferson thought he remembered the delegate signing the document on July 4th, it does not appear that the signature began until August 2nd, when the engrossed copy was ready. Meanwhile, the Declaration was published by the Pennsylvania Evening Post on July 6, and copies were sent to the committees of safety in the various states by John Hancock, President of the Congress. The first public reading of the Declaration was by the Committee of Correspondence in Philadelphia on July 8, 1776. People cheered, the bells rang, and many celebrated all night. It is interesting that Thomas Jefferson was not identified as the author of the document until many months later. Furthermore, the names of the delegates who signed it were also kept concealed. There was fear of retaliation by the British. This recalls to mind the final sentence of the Declaration, wherein the delegates stated, "And for the support of this Declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor." In a figurative sense, the delegates who subscribed to this document signed their names in blood. Had the Americans lost the Revolutionary War and been captured, they undoubtedly would have been tried and summarily convicted of treason. The penalty for high treason was to be hanged by the head until unconscious, then cut down and revived, then disemboweled and beheaded, then cut into quarters, each quarter to be boiled in oil. The remnants were scattered abroad, so the last resting place of the offender would remain forever unnamed, unhonored, and unknown. Founders reveal the source of the ancient principles. James Fedor's rendering of the original proposal for the seals of the United States. There are pictures of the coins. Are they coins? I don't know. Just seals, I guess. And it shows Israel, and then it shows the Anglo-Saxons one. A short time after the Declaration of Independence was adopted, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and Benjamin Franklin were assigned to formulate an official seal for the new nation. As mentioned earlier, Jefferson and several of the other founders, including the Reverend Thomas Hooker, who wrote the Constitution for Connecticut in 1649, had discovered that the most substantive principles of representative government were those practiced by ancient Israel under the leadership of Moses. Jefferson had also studied the institutes of the governments of the Anglo-Saxons and had found they were almost identical as those of the Israelites. After a brief discussion, it was decided that both of these ancient principles should be represented on the Great Seal of the United States. Here is Franklin's description of the way he thought ancient Israel should be portrayed. Moses standing on the shore and extending his hand over the sea, thereby causing the same to overwhelm Pharaoh, who is sitting in an open chariot, a crown on his head, and a sword in his hand. Raised from a pillar of fire in the clouds, reaching to Moses to express that he acts by command of the deity. Motto: rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God. John Adams described what Jefferson proposed. Mr. Jefferson proposed the children of Israel in the wilderness, led by a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, and on the other side, Hengist and Horsa, the Saxon chiefs, from whom we claim the honor of being descended, and whose political principles and form of government we have assumed. Professor Gilbert Chenard, one of the distinguished biographers of Jefferson, states, Jefferson's great ambition at the time was to promote a renaissance of Anglo-Saxon primitive institutions on the new continent. Thus presented, the American Revolution was nothing but the reclamation of the Anglo-Saxons' birthright, of which the colonists had been deprived by a long train of abuses. Nor does it appear that there was anything in this theory which surprised or shocked his contemporaries. Adams apparently did not disapprove of it, and it would be easy to bring in many similar expressions of the same idea in documents of the time. On August 13th, 1776, Jefferson wrote to Edmund Pendleton to convince him that Virginia must abolish the remnants of feudalism and return to the ancient principles. He wrote, "Are we not better for what we have hitherto abolished of the feudal system? Has not every restitution of the ancient Saxon laws had happy effects? Is it not better now that we return at once into that happy system of our ancestors, the wisest and most perfect ever yet devised by the will of man, as it stood before the 8th century?" Jefferson studied the language of the Anglo-Saxons so that he might read their laws in the original tongue. In a letter to his old tutor, George Wythe, dated November 1st, 1778, Jefferson wrote that the extracts from the Anglo-Saxon law, the sources of the common law, I wrote in the original for my own satisfaction, but I have added Latin or liberal English translations. Congress did not immediately adopt any official seal, and as time went by, other committees were appointed. Eventually, Congress adopted a similar seal. It consisted of an American eagle on one side and an unfinished pyramid of 13 steps on the other, representing the 13 original colonies. The pyramid insignia was copied from the $50 bill of the continental currency used during the Revolutionary War. At the bottom of the pyramid were inscribed the Roman numerals for 1776, and the popular all-seeing eye of the Creator was implanted over the pyramid, symbolizing the providential power which the founders felt had continually interceded in behalf of the cause of freedom during the War for Independence. There were also two classical Latin mottos inscribed on the seal. One was Annuit Coeptis, He, God, hath favored our undertaking. The other was Novus Ordo Seclorum, the new order of the ages, or the beginning of a new age. The Battle of New York. Let's see. Am I reading this much more? I thought I was. My goodness. Okay. We got a couple more pages to go. Hopefully I can hang here. This is a long chapter. This is still chapter 1. The Battle of New York. Meanwhile, by late August 1776, a threatening disaster was descending on the American military forces at New York. General Washington had warned the Congress that without a navy, it would be impossible for him to adequately defend New York, though he promised to muster the strongest resistance possible. The British soon attacked with the largest land force ever seen in America, supported by the largest naval armada the country had ever seen. By August 29th, the Americans had been driven from Long Island, and by September 12th, they had been forced to abandon Lower Manhattan and New York City. The city had a population of 22,000, which made it the second largest city in the country next to Philadelphia. Washington retreated once again. Jefferson resigns from Congress. It was under those disastrous circumstances that Thomas Jefferson shocked his colleagues by suddenly resigning from Congress, right when every shred of ingenuity was needed in the Congress to contrive ways and means of helping Washington. One of the bright lights from that hard-pressed assemblage in Philadelphia announced that he was leaving for home. There were two important reasons why Jefferson left. The first was the lingering illness of his wife, which had become alarming. With two recent deaths in the family, he felt tremendous pressure to be at home where he could manage the needs of his loved ones. Jefferson's second motivation for leaving Congress was his feeling that he could be of more value to the country in Virginia than in Philadelphia. Virginia had adopted a constitution which was reprehensible to Jefferson, and the thought kept gnawing at his soul that he was perhaps the one person who knew what to do about it. As for the battle in New York, Jefferson had the instinctive conviction that ultimately the Americans were going to win and the states would be free. However, he feared they would not know what to do with their freedom. He did not feel they were prepared, either psychologically or constitutionally, to deal with the multitude of problems that are inherent in the plenary problems which freedom imposes on a liberated people. It was Jefferson's hope that somehow he might guide Virginia, the largest of the states, so that her example might be a model for the other states. Jefferson's self-appointed mission to make Virginia a model state. Just about the time matters had improved with his family, Jefferson was offered an appointment to serve as a commissioner for the United States in Paris. He rejected this honor and chose instead to get himself elected to the State Assembly in Williamsburg. When the new legislative session opened early in October 1776, Jefferson literally smothered the Virginia House of Delegates with a portfolio bulging with new bills. He left no doubt among the delegates as to his intentions. Jefferson said it was his hope that he could arouse the delegates to support an effort to set up a system by which every fiber would be eradicated of ancient or future aristocracy and a foundation laid for a government truly Republican. Many of the delegates, including his closest friends, argued that there would be time enough to do all of this reforming after the war is over, but Jefferson said that any delay would be a mistake. They must adopt these badly needed changes during the heat of the ensuing battle and strike while the iron was hot. As he later said, it can never be too often repeated that the time for fixing every essential right on a legal basis is while our rulers are honest and ourselves united. From the conclusion of this war, we shall be going downhill. It will not then be necessary to resort every moment to the people for support. They will be forgotten, therefore, and their rights disregarded. They will forget themselves, but in the sole faculty of making money, and will never think of uniting to effect a due respect for their rights. The shackles, therefore, which shall not be knocked off at the conclusion of this war, will remain on us long, will be made heavier and heavier, till our rights shall revive or expire in a convulsion. Jefferson's reforms. Jefferson's unusual intensity and aggressiveness in seeking these reforms induced the delegates to approve a number of committees to appease Jefferson and allow the House to get on with their regular business. In a period of 2 years, Jefferson gathered around himself a few sympathetic friends and personally wrote enough legislation to satisfy any 10 delegates during a lifetime. However, most of this legislation involved such sweeping reforms that the delegates were too stunned to pass it. Nevertheless, Jefferson's close friend, 25-year-old James Madison, carried on after Jefferson was elected governor of Virginia in 1779 and after he left to become minister to France in 1784. They both seemed to sense that before a genuine Republican form of government could be instituted in Virginia, a campaign must be launched to clear out the accumulated rubbish of feudalism, aristocracy, and slavery, and the worst parts of British statutory law, which had been inherited by Virginia from England. Although it took many years to get these reforms adopted, here is what Jefferson initiated in a brief period of only 2 years. He set up a formula for abolishing slavery by peaceful means within 1 generation. He introduced new legislation to revise the Civil Code. 3, he introduced new legislation to revise the Criminal Code. 4, he introduced a bill to abolish primogeniture, a feudal law requiring a parent to bestow his entire estate on his eldest son, whether he was competent or not. Primogeniture was designed to preserve the aristocracy. 5, he introduced a bill to abolish entail estates, a feudal law requiring large tracts of land, sometimes 1 million or more acres, to be maintained intact in a family because of the feudal obligations to the king or some high-ranking lord or baron. Entail estates was also designed to preserve the aristocratic class. 6, he introduced a bill to eliminate the death penalty except for murder, treason, and certain military crimes in times of war. 7, he introduced a bill to eliminate cruel and unusual punishment. 8, he introduced a bill to eliminate the official state church so there could be equality for all religions. 9. He introduced a bill to eliminate the payment of a tithing tax to support a particular church. In June 1783, just as the Revolutionary War came to a close, Jefferson composed his fourth and final draft for a sound system of government in Virginia. He took it with him in 1784 when he accepted the appointment as minister to France and finally published it there. Jefferson knew from experience that the leaders of his beloved home state of Virginia were too entrenched in their traditional culture to accept this constitution. Nevertheless, he wanted to capture the essential ideas which would improve certain aspect of his first 3 drafts and serve as a frame of reference for the future. It's just like a third of a page here. Jefferson's vision of a future ideal state. Unless we discover what was churning in the mind of Jefferson during this tempestuous period of revolution and reform, it will be impossible to appreciate either his profound hopes or his deep forebodings in case Virginia should fail to embrace the things which he was trying to teach them. In the next chapter, we will attempt to summarize in a few pages those ancient principles that had taken Jefferson half a lifetime to learn. Without these concepts, it would be difficult for us to comprehend the anxieties of Jefferson during this period, as it was for his fellow delegates at Williamsburg. Whew, that was a lot. Okay, not bad. 30 minutes. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. And I better have been sharing. Very, very good. Okay, well, I see some people snuck in here. Pamela Barone, love you, honey. Someone say hi to Four Corners. What up? Devil Dog, so glad you're here. All right. Ancient principles. Yes, we love the ancient principles. I'm all about the ancient principles for sure. I hope to set up a stream. I wanted to set it up. Who's coming on? Is Four Corners here? I don't see him. Someone said hi to Ricky, but I don't see that guy. Oh, there he is. There you are. Cool. Right on, man. All right. Well, it's really nice to have you guys here. Usually I'm talking to myself, which is it's cool you're here. Thank you for being here. You were here for the whole show. Okay. Well, very good. All right. Well, look for a stream in the next hour or so, or today, or tonight. I don't know. I'll see you guys. Pray for our country. Pray for your people, and look for your people. Check in with your people that don't have a lot of people. You know what I mean? We really got to be checking in with them. I will check in with Jen. And my mother got me this hat. You better watch it. She got me this hat. My mama, she's a badass. She is. Good to see y'all. I'll see you soon. I'm glad you're all here to learn. And that was a long read, but it was great. It's always good to hear those words, isn't it? Always good to read and learn. I listen to a lot of things on tape. We don't really have tape anymore, but you know what I mean. All right. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.